Thank you to the names that you can see on screen right now for supporting us over on Patreon. If you'd like to support the channel and get first access to videos as well as extended cuts, then click the link in the description below. It's been a while since I've done any kind of reaction video. It's been a very busy summer and we've just not had the time to keep up to date with all the new releases. Maybe after summer we'll get around to doing some of them. But something has just come out today that was a complete shock to everyone. There was no official announcement. There was no press release. There was no, whatever. And it's a brand new EP by Avenged Sevenfold. Now, Avenged Sevenfold are my second favourite band of all time, second behind Enter Shikari. They were my favourite band before Enter Shikari. But over the last few years, Life Is But a Dream was going in a different direction to the Avenged Sevenfold that I grew up with and that was so formative for me as a music enjoyer, as a musician. People have said that this isn't great, but I wanted to give it a fair shot. I've not listened to a single second of this yet. All I've gone on is the words of other people, and I thought it's not really fair for me to make a decision in my head already. But anyway, we're going to listen to it today. It is called Statica. It's just come out today. It's 4 songs. It's 18 minutes long. I won't be able to put the whole thing on YouTube, so if you would like to see the full reaction, that's going to be over on Patreon. The link to that is going to be in the description down below. I'm going into this completely blind, so let's just hit press play on the first one. Somebody said it sounds like AI, which I really hope. I know they use AI in their live shows. I don't know if I like those, that vocal kind of robotic. But it is experimental, isn't it? Kind of in the way that, when Radiohead get really weird with it, or Muse, even on the last few albums, kind of just... And I love both of those bands as well, don't get me wrong, but when they go weird, they get really weird. It feels very kind of like atonal, almost, but not in the same way as Angine Dipod Train. There is a time and a place to listen to something like that. Okay, so then go straight into track 2, which is Statica. If you listen to Oingo Boingo and any other Danny Elfman projects, not just his movie soundtracks for the Tim Burton films and things like that, he's very... It's like progressive funk, jazz, fusion, all sorts of stuff. And that is quite interesting, but... Is it Avenged Sevenfold? That's the... that sounds like Muse. Well, with all the auto-tune filters on it, it's just... See, there is a groove to it. I'm kind of vibing with it, but I would listen to something like this, but... not... you have to be kind of in the zone to listen to certain kinds of stuff. See, that's kind of nice, Brooks is doing a really good job there on the drums. They've got two of the best guitarists in modern metal, if not the singular greatest guitarist in modern metal. It's why release this under Avenged Sevenfold when it could, this could be an Avenged Sevenfold side project, and I'd be going, oh, this is great. I love that they're making the music that they want to make, and I am still, but if I want to save this to my Spotify, but if I'm listening to Avenged Sevenfold on shuffle, and it's going to go from Backcountry to this, that's not the same band. I know bands evolve over time and bands change, and sorry, I know I'm talking over the music a lot, but it's just there's a lot to say, because at least there was kind of heavy guitars and stuff on some songs in Life Is But a Dream. I love Cosmic on Life Is But a Dream. That's one of not my favourite Avenged Sevenfold songs, but certainly off the last 2 albums. It's simultaneously more interesting, but also kind of needless. I don't know. No music is needless, but it doesn't seem like it has a through line or a proper purpose to it. I mean, they've been experimenting with stuff for years, even as far back as what? The self-titled, even some things on City of Evil, really, but that is predominantly a metalcore album. I mean, is it supposed to be kind of like a... There's a lot of space sounds. Is it supposed to... See, that is like a... That is a nice groove, you know. I'm enjoying that, but I think I'd enjoy it a lot more if it wasn't associated with the name Avenged Sevenfold, but that is a nice groove. Friend of mine. Like, it's catchy, do you know what I mean? I'm actually enjoying listening to that, but... Channel's free. News to me. See, it's like there's a hook there. You can instantly kind of. That, like, just a very simple guitar line. Doesn't need to be a complicated riff or whatever. And then there is. Join the crowd. That, like, M Shadows, the M Shadows note. I'll pause it after this one because that's quite interesting. I want to pull up on that a bit. I think that's Sinister Gates singing. Zaki and Brian, Sinister Gates, have kind of come into their own as vocalists as well, doing backing vocals. I mean, that is just a nice... Ooh. This is pretty cool. Rejoice, and the world rejoice, we all rejoice. See, it is quite catchy. I think this might have worked as like a B-side to Life is But a Dream. But then you've got all these like mad synths and stuff as if it's like a 70s prog rock band singing about aliens, and is he playing that on a guitar through it like a synthesizer? I think he is. That is a Sinister Gates guitar solo played through a shit ton of effects, and then ends with the 1975 apparently. But no, I enjoyed that. If you listen to Avenged Sevenfold, you know that kind of obviously like a bit more gravelly with Matt's vocals. I'd love to pick it apart sometime and actually understand the music, the musicality to it. If someone knows what that is specific to his vocals, like, please let me know, because in so many Avenged Sevenfold songs, you hear him go up and he kind of like gradually, it's not like it just goes, he kind of, you know, he swings it up and he goes, and it's the difference between those two notes that kind of really, that's M Shadows. That's what he sounds like. That's his vocal style with the grit on it. If you want to see me try and break it all down, I'm not very good at music theory, but I know a fair bit. If you want to see me try and break it all down, let me know. Or if somebody can help, please let me know, because I am genuinely interested why that sounds specifically like him. Because you can listen to a piece of music that's by Avenged Sevenfold but sounds nothing like their other work. Their, you know, the entire maybe 3/4 of their body of work, and there are still elements of the band in there even when it sounds like nothing like Avenged Sevenfold. So that is really interesting to me. I will be going back and listening to that. That's called Rejoice, that third track. Now let's listen to the final track called Ashes. Again, funky. This just sounds so weird. Like, in a way, I love it. In a way, I really love it, but as an Avenged Sevenfold piece of music, it just seems to like kind of meander through these weird... I don't think it knows where it wants to go. Which, when you consider how many great songs they've written, how many great guitar parts that Sinister Gates on his own has written, and Johnny on the bass there, Well, I imagine it's a synth bass, but thing is, they're all incredibly talented musicians. See, that sounds quite... Oh. With the headphones on as well, it's like, ooh. It feels like it's trying to tell a story. And it might be trying to tell a story, I don't know. I've not looked into it properly enough yet. But it feels very kind of space opera, almost. See, I like this. This is similar to like how Cosmic makes me feel at the end. And there's all these things going on in the background that you can hear through headphones that are so interesting. And that's that. That's Statica. As I say, it's only 4 songs, 18 minutes. It's only an EP. It's not a full album. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. When I saw people talking about it online today, and I thought, if it's going to be so terrible that I'm like, the way some people were talking about it online was like, this is the end. Someone even said that Avenged Sevenfold were hemorrhaging fans with this alone, and it's like it's not even been a day yet. How can that be decided? Life Is But a Dream was a bit of a weird one because I like some songs on it and I appreciate what they were trying to do, but it's not an album that I ever go back and listen to all the way through, or even a couple of songs from. As I said, I really like Cosmic. City of Evil, the self-titled album, and Nightmare, to me, are a trilogy of 10 out of 10 albums. There's not many bands that have one 10 out of 10 album, let alone a trilogy of 10 out of 10 albums. There are parts of that in here that you can trace back to those albums. There are parts of the songwriting, the way they use chord structures, the way they kind of switch around with harmonies and stuff. And like, as I said, that M Shadows, that is very particular to him. So these are things that they've brought with them on their entire career so far. So you can't say that it's come out of nowhere, but it is such a violent turnaround from the sound that you expect. I'm straddling the line between respecting them as musicians enough to trust that they're just doing what they want to do, they're doing what makes them happy, and also coming from a place of, why release this as Avenged Sevenfold? You have Pinkly Smooth right there. You have these other avenues that you could go down. Zachary Baker, as he's called now in his solo work, released his own solo album in April this year, which I still haven't had a chance to check out. Maybe I should do, but that's more of like a dark country album. So it's very clearly inspired by, they have dark country songs. They've got Gunslinger and Dear God, and even to an extent Seize the Day. They've got those kind of country elements in a lot of their songs. And Zach's obviously gone, look, I want to do this, but not as part of Avenged Sevenfold. I'm going to make it my own solo project. Why couldn't this have been a similar situation? Because now if you listen to Avenged Sevenfold on shuffle, you're going to get everything from early noughties screamo music all the way through the metalcore era and, your Afterlife and Backcountry and that sort of stuff, all the way through the kind of progressive era of everything that was on the stage to this, which is just what bands are allowed to change, they're allowed to grow. It just feels like it should have been a different project. I think it would get so much more hype. I think it would be a lot better received if they'd have gone, hey, here's this brand new EP from this brand new artist, but it's actually Avenged Sevenfold doing this other project. And I think a lot of people would have really responded well to that if it was called something else. Let's say it was Pinkly Smooth. And for those of you who don't know, Pinkly Smooth was a band that I think The Rev started years and years ago, or he was part of anyway. And that was a bit more inspired by Danny Elfman, Oingo Boingo, that kind of stuff, Mr. Bungle. That kind of weird stuff has always been there as part of the inspiration. I mean, you've only got to listen to A Little Piece of Heaven, to know they've always been inspired by the weird stuff. And then like all the zombies stuff they've done. So this feels like something that has been kind of, little parts of it have been sprinkled throughout their catalogue anyway. But if this had just been released today and they just went, here's a Pinkly Smooth EP, Oh, by the way, it's the side project of Avenged Sevenfold. So many more people would have gone, oh, I can respect that because they're not doing Avenged Sevenfold stuff right now. They're focusing on maybe a little, get kind of, there's that separation, and so I enjoyed parts of it, but I'm left a little bit confused by most of it. I'll add it to my Spotify because it's Avenged Sevenfold and I've added everything else, but I can't see me. I'll probably skip past the other three and then listen to Rejoice maybe, or I'll go and do some research because it did sound like a bit of a space opera. It sounded like there might be a bit of a story to it. And who knows, it could end up kind of just clicking one day and making sense. It's not as bad as people were making it out to be online. But at the end of the day, it's their music. They can do what they want with it. And as a fan, I'm still a fan of the band all these years later. But we'll discuss that in another video because I really want to talk about some things on Life is But a Dream and stuff like that. And we'll do that after summer. We'll do like a big Avenged Sevenfold breakdown. We could do like an album ranking or something like that. That'll be a lot of fun. If you'd like to see that, let me know. The full version of this is going to be over on Patreon. Let me know what you thought of it down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Toodles.